It's an amazing experience, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? The shriek of these cars on full song really is spine-tingling. It's a fantastic spectacle here, and it's awfully difficult for the television cameras really to do the speed justice here. I mean, 240 miles an hour. That's 3 soccer fields a minute, and that is seriously quick. A second, I should say. And that is seriously fast, and it's hard to describe it, but. Some of these guys have pretty white knuckles at the end of the day, so they can tell you what it's all about in there. It's really mind-blowing.
The interesting thing is, of course, from the driver's point of view, as Dario Franchitti was saying, there actually isn't a great deal of difference between a car, when you're driving, between doing 225 miles an hour and 235 miles an hour, and yet that's the difference between, you know, running competitively and being absolutely nowhere. 225 is nothing around here, 235 is fantastic. So, but from the driver's point of view, of course, it's all down to the incredibly fine tuning that you have to do to the car to avoid it scrubbing speed off you in the corners.
Yeah, the balance of the cars is absolutely of crucial importance here, and also the driver's been relaxed too. You can burn up a lot of mental and nervous energy on this racetrack without even thinking about it, and a lot of these drivers really, they have to learn how to relax during this race. 500 miles, that's a long way around. It's well over 3 hours, even at the best of speeds, and that's a lot of time to be dicing, especially this close together, wheel to wheel at those speeds for that length of time. It takes a lot out of the drivers.
Intense concentration, absolutely intense concentration. It's all the way throughout the course of the race. Cannot back off, cannot relax for a moment. We've seen some classic races here in the past. We've got a bit of a hold-up at the moment. You may be wondering, they seem to have cleared everything up. The problem is there's some trouble with the timing and scoring system, and that is what is causing our delay to get this race under green again. Brian Hurt has taken advantage of it, and he has come into the pits, goes back out once more. We've completed some 19 laps at the moment, so a few people deciding to take advantage of this slightly extended yellow flag that we have at the moment. The 2 leaders going round, Gugelmin, well, in fact, just ahead of Pruitt, and Boesel will take the opportunity to take a break. Welcome back to the US 500. The pace car lights are out. We're getting ready for the restart here. Maurizio Gugelmin leads from Scott Pruitt, Raoul Boesel, Parker Johnston, Alex Zanardi and Jimmy Vasser. And we're very close to getting this race restarted, but there's a bit of traffic up there amongst the leaders.
Yeah, Max Papis there in second place on the road behind Gugelmin, going into turn 3. A good start for Gugelmin, getting ready for the green flag. Max Papis there staying to the inside line. He'll allow the 2 Brahma cars, I think, to go past him on the outside, coming off 3 and 4 and up to the green flag.
Of course, they're not really allowed to overtake. Well, they just go past just over the line. They'll probably get away with that, but they've changed the rules slightly. That's back there, yes. We just looked out of the commentary box window. You're looking at the 2 cars running second and third. Just behind, there was a huge gaggle of cars all battling for position into turns 1 and 2. Look at the background there. You can see them all. Parker Johnson on 4th. There's Michael Andretti. Oh, he's just being passed by Jimmy Vasser, I do believe it was, going past Michael Andretti when Andretti had just looked at getting past him. Look at these 2, fantastic, as Andretti goes through on the inside once again, and Jimmy Vasser, last year's US 500 winner, cannot do anything about it. So now we've got the 2 Ganassi's cars separated by Michael Andretti, and he's going to go for Zanardi now as they come into turn 1. Zanardi on the outside there, Michael Andretti right down onto the yellow line on the inside as he tries to go into 5th place.
That car is handling absolutely beautifully for Michael Andretti. We are on board the Kmart Texaco Havlik car. There comes Gilles de Ferran past us out of the pits again. So another quick stop for de Ferran there, who is still on the lead lap, I think. And there is Mike. There's the battle for the lead, goes flashes past us to complete that 23. Mauricio Gugelmin, Scott Pruitt, Raoul Boesel, Parker Johnstone, and there is this battle here for Alex Zanardi and Michael Andretti.
What a wonderful battle this is turning into. Remember, Michael Andretti is the first of the Goodyear runners. All the cars ahead of him have Firestone tyres. They seem to have been setting the pace, at least in the practice session so far. But the question is, has Michael got a better setup once we get into the race? And it's looking good, isn't it? Just look at that, how low down he gets again. He seems to be able to put the car where he likes, and now he's getting the chance. Oh no, not quite. How close do you want to be at 240 miles an hour as they come down now into turn 1? It's a slightly wider entry into turn 1, and this time, surely, Michael Andretti has moved into 5th place.
And as you say, some tough stuff there, and some great dicing all the way down the field here, even in the early stages. A quick word for Adrian Fernandez in the recalcitrant Lola. He's up to 11th place now, and Richie Hearn only a couple of places farther back in 13th. So a couple of good runs there from some perhaps unfancied contenders here. As here comes this battle now. This is actually Jimmy Vasser, and on board there with Bobby Rahal in 8th position.
We are seeing the Goodyear tyres coming in well at this point in the race. 25 laps completed. We've had some yellows, but both Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal on the Goodyears both looking very, very good at the moment. There you see the two Firestone-tyred Chip Ganassi cars ahead of Zanardi, Vassar, then Rahal. Then we look back at Carpentier's battling with Franchitti. Remember, these two are the top two rookies of the year so far, and they're now enjoying their own private battle. Dario Franchitti in the Hogan racing car, the second of the two machines. Carpentier driving for the Bettenhausen team, two very experienced team owners and two young rookie drivers enjoying their first 500-mile race. Meanwhile, Michael Andretti is now looking for fourth place. Parker Johnston is right ahead, but it's not going to be for much longer because Michael Andretti's got the inside line and he is going to take fourth place. Parker Johnston can't do much about it, and the Swift takes another position.
So he is flying Michael Andretti in. A little bit farther ahead of them is Mauricio Guzman, who flashes past us, 27 laps in the book. It's actually just putting a lap on Gilles Ferrand, so the Walker car goes down a lap in the early stage, but there is Michael Andretti diving down into turns 1 and 2, down towards the yellow line there at the apex of the corner, lets the car drift up wide, but he doesn't use even close to all the road there, does he? He's just cruising around at this stage and already up to 5th position. Fourth position, I should say.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Michael Andretti, charging hard in the early laps here. Looking further down, Franchitti in 10th place, Fernandez in 11th, we mentioned that. Mark Blundell still there in 12th place. There is the battle though between Patrick Carpentier, Bobby Rahal. They've managed to catch Bobby Rahal. So Rahal now not running quite as well over the last couple of laps, and now Carpentier is looking to the inside of, oh, look at that, he lost a lot of time there. Well, that was an interesting little incident. He seemed to have the inside line, looked as though Bobby was going to give him room. Suddenly he dropped back. Meanwhile, Michael is still on his charge. He is lapping so much faster than anybody else at the moment, and he's now caught up to third place man, Raul Boesel, just ahead of him. You can see the other car has stopped through it, and Michael Andretti, Ford engine versus Ford engine, Swift chassis versus Reynard chassis, Goodyear tyres versus Firestone, and the combination of Michael Andretti takes the position, so he's now into third place. Fantastic charge from Andretti this, but can he keep up this sort of speed?
Yeah, you know, Michael Andretti is getting a draft there from the car of Gilles Ferrand. He goes down the inside into turn 2. We're on board with Scott Pruitt, the second place car. And Michael Andretti, you know, he always runs well here, but boy, he always seems to have disappointments in this place. He's had 7 straight DNFs here at Michigan over the last 5-6 years now. But if Michael Andretti can run this sort of a pace, then he's obviously running very, very strong. The key to Michael, though, is not to get too impatient at the early stages of the race. Still only just 30 laps in the books, 220 laps to go.
Don't forget, Jeremy, that Michael actually started this race way down in 19th position. It's 10th row of the grid starting position, and here he is. He's moved his way up into third place already, and such a short distance completed in this race. Look at that, there's Franchitti. Franchitti makes a move on Bobby Rahal, and that puts Dario Franchitti now into 9th position. So he's having a good first run in a 500-mile race. Again, though, there's a lot of it to come. As he goes across the line, he goes past our commentary position. Both Carpentier and Franchitti, the two youngsters, are driving very, very well at the moment. Let's hope that they're managing to pace themselves a little bit as well. Look after the cars, look after the engines too. Very important that they don't overstretch these engines in the early part of the race when they've got a 500-miler to contend with. Trying to hear a little bit of radio contact there, but it's a bit hard to make out what they're saying at that sort of speed. Just enjoying the ride for a moment with Bobby Rahal. Just going past the German driver Arndt Meyer, who is circulating somewhat more slowly. There's the view of Bobby Rahal from the outside now as the experienced veteran runs around in 10th position at the moment. Still a very competitive run from Bobby Rahal. Dropped down the order somewhat in Toronto, if you remember. Started well up. Michael Andretti, meanwhile, hearing a bit of radio traffic. What a yellow flag!
Closed.
And that's what he was being told.
Gate works. Pits are closed. Pits are closed.
It's good news for a lot of the leaders because it's time for the pit stop now. A couple of cars have just been in. Richie Hearn has just come in. That's bad news for him. He's lost probably a couple of laps making that stop. And everybody else now is going to be able to stop under the caution. So bad luck for Richie Hearn.
Reason for the yellow flag is debris. We've just heard there's a piece of carbon fibre out there somewhere. So the problem's there. That's why they've brought the yellow flag out. Now the pit stops, that's what's going to be important. You can hear a bit of radio conversation going on with Michael Andretti. First of all, they've got to tell him if the pit lane's been opened. It hasn't yet. They'll wait until the cars are all in position behind the pace car before they put out the sign, which means that the pit lane is open. Now that means pit lane's closed at the moment. We'll look for the plus sign, which will indicate the pit lane is open for all the cars on the lead lap. And that still means quite a few of them. I think we've still got 15 cars, is it?
19,
actually.
19. Yeah, they're still coming past here. There goes Brian Herta. Gualter Salis is 18th. And there is Juan Fangio, I reckon, is 19th. So I think all those cars, all those 19 cars on the lead lap, but Michel Jourdain Jr. in 20th place is the first of those one lap down.
Maurizio Gugelmin has driven superbly well so far, leading this race. And interestingly enough, the Pac West and Newman Haas pits are actually very close to each other in the pit lane. So we should get to see the battle between them as they come in to make this important stop. Don't forget, at the moment, Andretti's running in third place, having fought his way up from 19th in just this first segment of the race. He's still behind Scott Pruitt, but this first round of pit stops will be very interesting, and hopefully we'll show you all 3 pit stops at the same time if we get the chance. In they come, Jeremy.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting now. We can't actually see from our position. We'll try and send a run it out, see if we can find out whether some of these guys might be switching to the harder of the Firestone tyres, although certainly that softer compound is working fine for these early leaders there, for Maurizio Gugelmin. There we are, Gugelmin on top, Pruitt in the middle, and Michael Andretti a little bit farther down pit lane, coming in third place in the bottom.
That's how they came in, remember. That was the order. Gugelmin leading, Pruitt was second, Andretti was third. But is that the way they're going to end up? Out of the pits comes Pruitt. Michael Andretti, though, is further ahead, so he's got ahead of Pruitt. Battle between Gugelmin and Andretti as they come out of the pit. Andretti's just got it across the blend line, and Gugelmin just holds on to second, I think, from Scott Pruitt. But Michael Andretti has grabbed the lead thanks to some great work from Newman Haas. Michael Andretti now leads the US 500. Back at the Michigan Speedway, and we've got some news for you. Michael Andretti, as you saw just before we went to the break, managed to beat both Gugelmin and Pruitt out onto the circuit. But Andre Ribeiro is the race leader because, remember, he had taken a stop a little bit earlier on. But more importantly, some penalties have been issued out. Alex Zanardi ran over the air hose in his pit, and that means he has a penalty of having to come back into the pit, run through the pit and back out again. And that obviously will lose him quite a lot of track time. The same story for Paul Tracy. He also ran out over an air hose. Now you may say, well, surely it's very difficult for these drivers. They're rushing into the pits, rushing out again. It's very easy to run over an air hose. Yes, it is, but the thing is, it is a recognised penalty. It's always part and parcel of the kart series. Everybody knows the rule, and if the crew does not get your air hose out of the way in time, then I'm afraid you pay the penalty, and that's what's happening, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, those two, and I think perhaps Dennis Vitolo as well, farther down the field. Still on the lead lap, incidentally. So yeah, they'll have to come in for a quick stop and go penalty, or was it drive-through penalty?
Drive-through.
Yeah, sorry. They'll have to make that, of course, under green flag conditions. So once it goes green again, we get debris out of the way, get the track cleaned up, and off we'll go racing again. Before that'll happen, they will actually wave through. There's a couple of cars, which is actually Hiro Matsushita and Gilles de Ferran, who are out of sequence on their stops. They were picked up by the pace car. They will be waved past the pace car, and they'll be allowed to go around to the back of the pack. So good news for Gilles de Ferran, as Andre Ribeiro, of course, will then be leading the pack coming up for the restart.
So Ribeiro and the Tasman crew, having decided to take their pit stop a little earlier, they'll be up front, and he's been running quite competitively. But do you think he's been running a good enough pace to hold off Michael, who's been charging?
No, I don't think so. But he won't be too worried about that at all at this stage. He'll be quite happy to run along there in wherever it is, as long as he stays on the lead lap. He'll be happy. Steve Horn, very cagey character, the owner of the Tasman Motorsports Group. He's not going to get Andre run out front unless he's completely comfortable doing so. And there's a crew member there for one of Dennis Vitolo's crew members who hurt his ankle there. So it's awfully difficult. It's very cramped in these bits. Actually, there's probably more room in these bits than most of the other places, but it really is a high-pressure environment there. And not sure who that is, but he seems to be not too bad, so he'll be able to carry on there shortly and get back in the fray.
Yes, it is tight down there, as you say, Jeremy. It's a good wide pit lane, but of course the cars coming in and out at high speed, they do have a pit lane speed limit, 60 miles per hour, but of course it can still all go wrong.
I think it's 100 miles.
It's 100, sorry.
Yeah, on the super speedway. Very, very early stage races. Two slower cars behind Andre Ribeiro, a lap down. and then it'll be Michael Andretti and Mauricio Guzman. So there's all sorts of shuffling during those pit stops. As we've just had a quick run down the order, shall we? We've got Andre Ribeiro out in front, then Michael Andretti, Mauricio Guzman is third, Scott Pruitt, Raul Boesel, Patrick Carpentier